Okay, perfect. Yeah, so yeah, this is how you use life insurance to tuck away your rent money and basically not pay rent, and they won't be able to sue you. So let's assume like somebody's 30 years old, right? And you're in a situation where you cannot live at home because let's say your parents live somewhere else, and you're in New York City, right? And you're trying to save up money, but rent is too high. Well, here's the solution. The way you, this is like what I mean by asset protection. Okay, you see this screen right here? It says here the annual policy cash flow, cumulative cash flow, and this is the cash surrender value. This is basically where a hypothetical tenant would stash away their rent money instead of paying, let's say, like if they have like 1,500 a month or something like that, and they live with roommates, they will put it in this down here. Yeah, 1530. This is basically where they'll be like stashing it away, and then and it's protected from. And here's what I mean that is protected from creditors. Life insurance, state. Yeah, it's hold on. Let's see, there it is. It's like how wealthy people use trust funds to, stash away, to hide their assets, and then when they file bankruptcy, they keep everything they own. So life insurance is a way for normal people to do it. You see, life insurance. How do life insurance exemption work against creditors? See, it says here, exemption laws. But in general, if a creditor obtains a judgment against a policyholder, the creditor cannot attach to a permanent life insurance policy cash value to satisfy the judgment up to the amount of exemption. It doesn't matter if the judgment arises from a contract claim, like an unpaid loan, or a tort action, like a negligence or premise liability. The cash value will survive up to the amount of exemption. In New York City, as you can see over here, New York City is unlimited. It says complete exemption of accelerated death benefits, cash surrender value, and or loan against and dividends against claims of policy owners' credit. Basically, what it means is as long as if your savings account is tucked away into the life insurance policy, they cannot touch it. The landlord cannot sue you. Oh, the landlord won't be able to sue you. And it isn't here. The idea is like a New Yorker, they would be squatting for like basically 5 or 6 years, and you can see it. See, normally if they would pay 1,500 a month or something like that to live with roommates, they'll basically put it in here, and then they'll be doing it for like 5 or 6 years, and that's gonna like accumulate and is gonna build over time. And if the landlord try to sue them, they can't do it. Now, when somebody gets evicted, now because in New York City, I'll show you here. Eviction process takes around 6 months. This is what Frank told me, and sometimes it can take up to a year and a half, or even up to 2 years. So that's how long it takes in New York City for somebody to get evicted. This is because after COVID, the tenants' rights have changed. The tenants have a lot of rights now, and the court system is like backed up, like really high. So, so the strategy is that you're basically uh, protecting your assets, and then you start squatting, so they can't. So then the landlord can't really do anything. If they try to sue you, they can't claim anything. And if like if the worst case comes, let's say if you got a if the landlord has a judgment on you, you file Chapter 7 bankruptcy. Yeah, because rent is kind of like paying. It's like a credit card debt, right? So bankruptcy, Chapter 7, it stops creditors from taking action against you, such as collecting payments or repossessing your property. But if you're a renter, they're basically trying to like sue you for your unpaid rent. Now, Now, Chapter 7, what it basically does is discharges all your debt, and then your slate is wiped clean, and they can't go after you. But now, normally when you do that, your assets will be liquidated. That's why, you want to protect them first. Over here, see, it says what assets are exempt from bankruptcy. See, veterans benefits, retirement accounts such as, Roth IRA, 401k, unemployment benefits, wages you earn over here, see, life insurance. See, that's the only reason why like you would use this for squatting or not paying rent because you need it to protect your assets. It's like a savings account, so some sense, except it's protected from lawsuits and and bankers. Imagine if you're a squatter in New York City. I can't see the screen, huh? Yeah, so like imagine if you were a squatter in New York City, right? And instead of paying rent, you just put it away for like 10 years or something. Yeah, you're basically saving like let's say 7 years. You're saving like 120 grand, right? And that's basically put away, it's protected, and like any lawsuits or judgment against you, they cannot touch this. And then the idea is after like 7 years or 8 years of squatting, you take the money out and then do whatever you want with it. You could just buy property yourself, make a down payment with that, and then get your own place by then. This isn't really intended to be used indefinitely. It's just for like a period of like 6, 7 years or something like that, around 7 to 8 years, around that time, right? So you're basically squatting for like about a decade in New York City because if you're in a situation where, let's say your parents don't live around you, you can't live at home, and you're forced to live with either roommates or whatever, and basically rent is so high that depending how much you make, if you don't make enough, right, you're not able to get ahead. So this is like a way to, let's say, buck the system. You're taking advantage of the long eviction process in New York City, and you're shielding all your assets while you're squatting, and then yeah, and then you file bankruptcy after like after a period of years to have your debts discharged, and then the money you accumulated, you build up a little bit of wealth, then you take it out, and then afterwards you could go back to renting if you want because you already have all this. You can invest this, or you could like, or buy your own property. So yeah, because this is intended for, let's say somebody makes like 40 grand a year, 60 grand a year, right? And because after taxes, like rent will be pretty much, and after taxes and rent, you're basically living paycheck to paycheck. So this is the idea of this is like instead of paying rent, you're actually like you're screwing over your landlord, and you're putting that money into a protected savings account. It's gonna build up, and they're gonna be doing this for like 5, 6 years, basically like 6 to 7 years of squatting, right? And then they're basically like saving money and living rent free in New York City. Technically, like everything I presented to you, these are all basically legal loopholes. It's kind of like how when corporations borrow like billions of dollars, and then they file bankruptcy, but everything they own is like transferred to like another LLC, so they don't lose anything. Yeah, so this is like assuming somebody's like a 30-year-old New Yorker, they're playing a squat, and they're like non-smoker or and that kind of stuff. But if they are smokers, then the classification, we're gonna change this. But I'm using life insurance in a way that people don't really use it. This is not about dying and leaving anything to your beneficiaries. No, this is people are just going to use this to protect their assets, and then basically and just stop paying and not pay rent in New York City. You know what I mean? This is how they really build wealth and protect their assets at the expense of their landlords. Rent payments is classified as unsecured debt, similar to credit card balances. I'm gonna open this right here. See if I can, oh, there it is. Unsecured debt. Credit card debt, obviously, personal loans, business loans, medical debt. Oh, there it is. Apartment leases. While rent isn't typically considered debt, yeah, yeah. See, this is a. However, since you are not at risk of losing any belongings, your debt is considered unsecured. So yeah, this is like basically like unsecured debt. It's kind of like credit card loans and stuff like that. And basically, these are like the instructions on how to become a squatter. The idea is somebody signs a lease. they pay like 1 month's rent or something, and then just stop paying until they get evicted, which takes like 6 months to up to 2 years. And then, and while they're squatting, what they're doing is they put everything that's in their savings account, any like any paycheck that the money that would have go to rent, they will be stashing away into their, Roth IRA, 401k, life insurance policy. And then if they own any property, like let's say they own a house, they own a car or something. Well, most people let's assume if they don't own it, then this is perfect. It's not going to affect them. But if they own anything, I guess they'll have to put in a trust or something, because in a separate entity. But we're gonna assume that none of us own a car, right? We're just squatting in New York City. We're taking the train to work, and that and everything, and all our money is tucked away in these protected vehicles. And now, when you get evicted, yeah, they give you like a eviction. But to remove that, to get that deal with, you just file a. There it is. Eviction of equator. Yeah, see? But then to get it removed, you just file a motion of expungement, which costs like 50 to $100. I think that's a good deal. If you're planning to hire a lawyer, the cost could be 1,000 to 3,000. But we're not really going to be using a lawyer. We're assuming people are just going to do it themselves, right? So having eviction expunged, then you get it off your record. And then future landlord cannot see if you had eviction in your rental history. And then you could just tell them no if you've been evicted before. Lately, the judge has been very lenient towards the tenant. I'm thinking this could be a practical plan. It could almost be like, you could even say it's revolutionary.
Every politician says New York is the
greatest city on the globe.
But what good is that if no one can afford to live here?
Because rent has gone higher and higher, and people who pay rent, right, when they leave their apartment, they don't get their money back. So to me, it's like a borderline scam. And the worst part is if you're like a tenant and you're paying somebody else's mortgage, right? Yeah, that's the worst of all of them, because like they're paying off the property using your money. And even though you're the one paying somebody else's mortgage, you don't really own the property. You know what I'm saying? So the way I see this, like you're scamming the con artists out there. So I think, and here's all the tenants' rights reference: a landlord cannot harass, threaten an eviction. They have to go through a formal eviction process. They cannot enter your apartment. They cannot change your locks or turn off the utilities. And if they try to sue you, they only have 3 years to do it. After 3 years, it's a statute of limitation. Yeah, what it means is like if somebody overfund the policy and they take it out, to try to avoid taxes, when they take it out of their life insurance contracts, they're gonna pay taxes based on the amount they put in that's exceeding whatever the premiums are. And then other than that, it's like a 10% penalty for withdrawing if somebody try to like really overfund these like life insurance policies. I think I have there's a YouTube video about that. But the way I do it, it's actually like it's modified endowment contract. Yeah, you can find it here, but the way I do it now, it does not trigger any modified endowment contract years. It says 0. I would structure it in a way so that the amount they put in is just enough to not trigger like the MEC, so they can take it out without any penalties. It's basically somebody try to overfund a life insurance policy like beyond what they can. Basically the law is just put a limit on how much they can put in within a 7-year period. But there's ways around that though. There are ways to structure a policy where you can still put in a significant amount of. So we can still front load into the policies without any tax implications. The only thing is, I'm just trying to look for people who are willing to to buy something like this, to do something like this. Because right now I can't. I will go out and prospect. Finding people who will be interested in buying life insurance and using it for this purpose. It's like you live in an apartment, but you're not paying rent, and then what you do is you protect your assets. Well, even if they exempt vehicles, so if the landlord tries to sue you, they can't get anything. You basically like living for free. Just to protect my assets. Yeah, from lawsuits. Okay, no problem. Okay. Some people. No problem. Yeah, this is funny. Like this is kind of funny. Me selling life insurance during the day, teaching people how to squat and get away with it, and I do rape jokes at open mics. Yeah, this is awesome.